This session is brought to you by Lingso Systems, where it is their mission to enable libraries through technology to allow staff to be better librarians, to be smarter librarians. Save valuable time processing returns, transfers, and holds with automated material handling. Empower your collection with IMMS. Make your collection more accessible with 24/7 lockers, and enhance your service hours with AccessMate. Lingso Systems is working for smarter libraries. Are you? Learn more at lingsosystems.com/library.
Hi everyone, my name is Claire Humphreys. I'm the co-founder and COO of Wethos, a platform built for independent consultants to be able to scale up their virtual creative studios together. Today I'll be talking about a very exciting topic of dismantling toxic workplaces, what I do day in and day out, and what we've built here at Wethos of how to shape the culture of your mission-driven organization. So overview, we'll be going an introduction of who we are, and then diving into some of the tactics we've done with remote operations, values and accountability, our policies, code of conduct, as well as culture initiatives, and then just touching on where we're looking ahead, as we don't think that this will be something that is stagnant, but always improving and evolving. So introduction. Wethos was founded in 2016 by three women. It was Rachel, Kristen, and myself in New York City. We were working together at Havas Worldwide, a traditional creative agency working with various large brands. And after working together for several years and being in the ad world, we all kind of looked at each other of, hey, are we really passionate about what we're doing here, or should we start something else? So we left in 2016 to start Wethos, a platform that was going to connect people with work that they were passionate about. That started with people solving the world's toughest problems, you all, nonprofits. So we embraced remote work early. About 3 years ago was when we moved remote. So we left our office, our tiny office that we had in the Lower East Side in New York, and swapped it out for coffee shops or working out of each other's apartments. There's a lot of reasons of why we chose to work remotely. I think the two that are highest for me is, one, having an office and making people come in and day out really limits the amount of people that you're able to bring on and hire. Not only limit to location, but accessibility of, can I get to the office every day? Can I live in an expensive city like New York? How can I work for my dream company without being in these very expensive areas? Well, when we opened it up for other people around the country and around the world, we were so fortunate to get some of the talent that we have today. Some wonderful folks from California, Texas, Illinois, and even Canada. Outside of that, we know that rent is expensive. I think that's one thing everyone has figured out in the pandemic. And especially in New York, we were looking at how much we were spending on rent each month and asked ourselves, well, wouldn't this be better in our employees' pockets? So we actually cut our rent and ended up giving the money back to each employee of increasing their salary rather than it going to an office space that we frankly were only using part of the time. At this point now, we're a team of over 20 working across 5 different time zones, all under the shared vision and mission to empower a new generation of entrepreneurs to team up and make more together. So through our years of growth, our core beliefs have remained the same. So we actually wrote these 4 years ago when we started Wethos, and they all remain true to this moment. So we embrace founding members. Whether or not you're an internal employee with Wethos or one of our founding members of our first customers at Wethos, we treat you as if you're a core decision maker, because you are. A business can't run without the people to power it, and people are so crucial to the success of any organization that you're running. So it shouldn't just be, hey, I'm a founder and I make all decisions, or the execs do a top-down decision-making system. We should actually embrace not only our internal employees, but the core customers or the core people that are supporting your organization should be embraced as founding members. This leads into an important rule of thumb to keep in mind, which is there's inherent strength in diversity. I'll say it once, I'll say it so many times that people are tired of hearing me say it, but diverse teams create better work. Should be really careful when you're looking at an internal referral system for your employees to hire new people, because people's networks tend to be made of homogeneous types of people. And all of a sudden, if you're only taking referrals because they're trusted from different employees, you're going to look around and be like, yeah, everyone kind of looks and acts the same. That's going to be bad for your business. It's a business decision to put diversity first, because diversity and more seats at the table creates more room for creativity and new perspectives that are incredibly important when it comes to a mission-driven organization. Next up, we promote collaboration, not competition. I think this is one of the standards we wanted to put in writing, as we've had several employees that have come from toxic workplaces where it was very much a who's the loudest in the room, who talks the most, who has hierarchy over one another to make the decision. That's not going to promote a healthy work environment, and at the end of the day burns people down. Well, everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and if you're highly aware of that, to be able to collaborate with someone who balances you out or has a different skill set or a different perspective, you're going to create better work. And collaboration should be at the heart of what everyone's doing, not I'm doing this by myself and I'm doing it best. Lastly, we believe purpose and passion can pay. So you've heard about us moving remote and wanting to make sure that the dollars went back into our employees' pockets rather than into rent. But this also goes with how we hire remotely. We don't differentiate pay based on where you live. So if you live in Los Angeles or you live in Kansas City and you're doing the same work, you should be paid the same. It's on the output of work. This also lives within our platform, where we don't believe that there should be an hourly rate put on someone's time. You shouldn't charge per who someone is, but more on what the work that they actually output and they do. And at the end of the day, hiring people based on their years of experience or where they went to school, their alma mater, can really impact people from groups that may not have had a chance to pay for that alma mater of the Ivy League. What you should be looking for are people who are passionate about what you're doing and are here to work under the same values and the same vision of the company, rather than hiring someone because they have the resume that you're looking for. So at the end of the day, please keep in mind, no one should have to show up to work feeling fearful, undervalued, and unsupported. And this should start top down, making sure that you're empowering your employees and putting them first. And put pen to paper on your values. They're going to be really important. So next up, my favorite part, remote operations. So there's a lot of tools that we use. There's a lot that you need to do to stay organized when you're working in a remote environment. One of the key cadences that we'll go through in a bit, but they're about regular meetings. So every week we have very consistent meetings where we have Monday and Friday all hands, one-on-ones each week between employees and managers, and departmental huddles is what we call them. Making sure that that's consistent and that's scheduled, and every quarter wiping the slate clean so that we're really looking back at those meetings like, are these providing the most value? And if not, how can we improve them? Of course, we have lots of tools that we use to communicate. Slack, I'm sure a lot of you all are using this as well. It's been very game changing for us to be able to use Slack for quick updates, requesting feedback, and really keeping that organized between channels so that it's not noise for a lot of the employees, but actual helpful communication. Loom is another great thing that we use to record asynchronous presentations. So you share your screen, people can comment on specific parts of the actual presentation and you know exactly what they're talking about. There's even fun emojis that you can send through. Huge fans of Loom, definitely check it out. And then of course we have our calendar, Zoom for meetings, which we're always cameras on, and Monday.com for project management, particularly when it comes with a lot of collaboration between departments on things like content calendars or large projects that we're running at the company. So a secret sauce that we've learned in the past year is running on what we call an OKR framework. There's a book called Radical Focus. I've included a photo here. Highly recommend that all leaders read this and consider this as a way to run their company on a metrics-based perspective, because this isn't just stolen from Google or a lot of the other greats that have used the OKR framework, but it's really been transformative for our company. So OKRs are objectives and key results. An objective is an exciting qualitative goal that makes you want to get out of bed every morning. So for example, having your mission-driven organization become a household name in Texas when that's a new state that you want to move into. And that's a reach goal, not necessarily keep the lights on activities that you're always doing, but something that is putting you on the offense. Also, key results, there are up to 3 quantitative goals that you have a 50-50 chance of hitting and make them stretch goals. So for example, this could be a hard number like 100 or 1,000 new donors, or it can be 50% of new donors are coming from Texas. However you want to slice the metrics that you're tracking, just make sure that they're all aligned up to the company goal. So first you set a company objective and key results for the quarter, and then departments will set objectives and key results that ladder up to the companies. And most importantly, don't just set these and forget them. Track them weekly so that okay, we actually haven't started outreach to the new donors, and this is going to be 3 or 4 weeks till we get that up and running. But then we should start seeing that spike and getting closer to our goal week over week, so that is shared with the full team. Everyone's clear on where you're hitting on your goals, and they have a North Star, very focused, no more than 3 metrics that they're going after, because nothing can be more distracting for a team than having too many things that they're measuring and too many things that they're concentrating on, rather than the one North Star of the quarter. So again, we take our structure pretty seriously. So you can see here, Mondays and Fridays are our heavy days where we want to start and end the week all together with an all hands. So of course we have our pack leads or our department leads that we align with prior to our all hands, where on Monday we go through how we're tracking on our OKRs and weekly priorities. And then Friday we have an all hands where it's more of a celebration, have various departments and particularly make sure that anyone can present, do a show and tell. What have you accomplished this week? What do you want to share with the team? So that we're constantly learning from one another, and ensuring that in the middle of the week, we have our huddles between departments and weekly one-on-ones. I can't say that enough. Making sure that you're checking in one-on-one individually with each person that you manage is crucially important to make sure that you're staying on the same page and that your employees are feeling supported. So remote operations does not come without its challenges. I'm sure a lot of you are dealing with those challenges as we speak. So developing remote work etiquette. A few rules here that we have to consider yourself, but to set clear expectations. So again, setting these weekly meetings that exactly what you're going to do in each meeting, to make sure that clarity lives throughout the organization and there's no surprise. Wait, why did someone take my heads down Thursday for a meeting? This isn't okay. Be intentional with how you give feedback. So we're big fans of criticize in private, praise in public. So make sure that you are managing with empathy. Don't want to tear down someone in a meeting that their peers are in, or you don't want to look disaligned with the other leaders at the company. So how can you make sure through those one-on-ones that you're aligned privately, so that when you go into a meeting or an all hands with your company, you're set up with full consensus throughout the team. Also, set personal boundaries. We all love to work on our own time. I think this is one of the biggest perks about remote work, is some people can feel so drained by feeling like they're tied to the 9 to 5. Oh, I have to come in at 9 and I leave at 5. I come in at 9, I leave at 5. Sometimes I'm having a tough morning and I want to sleep in, but I love working late at night. We're a mix of early birds and night owls, but we just don't expect anyone to respond past 6 p.m. their local time, whether they're on the West Coast, East Coast, or somewhere in between. Lastly, be diligent in your documentation. It's really best when no decisions are made behind closed doors or it's not documented clearly, particularly when you're in a remote environment. Putting pen down to paper is incredibly important. Our team is selfishly very big fans of creating decks and presentations like you're seeing now, but we're creating documents almost every day based on the latest project and ensuring that we're aligned throughout the team. So really make it easy for anyone who's curious to get up to speed about the strategy, the process, and the next steps, no matter what department you're in the company. A remote workplace is built with trust first. You have to trust your employees. You can't be looking for the green dot next to their name on Slack or pinging them every day, asking them what their task list is. Give them a goal, let them meet it, and ask them what you can do to support them to meet that goal so that you can actually empower your team and really cultivate trust in this remote environment, which is hard work, but it's really worth it. My favorite section, values and accountability. So to help inspire more successful work relationships, it's important that you set guidelines for how you wish to collaborate alongside one another, and then to hold each other accountable for living up to those values on an ongoing basis. This was interesting because we are working at a startup and things change so rapidly, as I'm sure they do with your mission-driven organization, where you're constantly looking back at the priorities that you had 6 months ago and you're like, oh gosh, so much has changed in what I'm doing now. These goals that we had set for ourselves don't really matter. So instead, we wanted to create a values-based performance structure so that we can continue to empower one another to celebrate the values that you're really living up to, and also provide constructive feedback of how we can continue to improve on the ones you're not. So the basics of this exercise, which I ran earlier this year, is values should not be defined by leadership, but the whole team with 100% consensus. If one person on the team doesn't feel aligned to the value, you have to throw it out, because if the whole team isn't bought into each one, then they're basically useless because they were not created by the whole team. Values will not only be used for our company hiring, but also performance reviews. I think why this is important is in hiring is you want to set clear expectations. If your values don't align with how someone that you're interviewing works, we should let them know as soon as possible so that they're not taking on a role that they're not going to be happy with, and vice versa. But also for performance reviews, we put each value on a scale of 1 to 10, and every quarter we have a person do a self-review of themselves, an upward review of their manager, have the manager do a review of them, and choosing 2 to 3 peers to review them as well, where every single one includes how they're tracking on a scale of 1 to 10 on these values. And values will be revisited at the start of every quarter. So don't be too overly cautious when first putting it out there. You know that once you create your first values, they'll only improve from here as the team continues to get more accustomed to it. And again, every quarter we revisit it with the full team, leaving it as an open forum of what values should change and why, and having anyone speak up on that topic. So we chose to define our company values as a full team exercise, similar to the exercise that you're seeing a photo of here. One thing I did want to touch on is every 6 months we do have retreats, or what we call WeThos on-site workshops, WOWs, where we would get the full team together in a location. And you can see here we rented out an Airbnb and did a bunch of workshops throughout the week that we were there. That would happen twice a year. And of course, our latest one happened in July, so it was fully remote. The remote workshop actually had rave reviews because we really relied on some digital tools that I would highly recommend you check out for your next on-site. But fun, retro, whimsical, and optimal workshop to recreate the same vibes that we would get from workshops and colorful post-it notes in the sessions that we're working in. And of course, make sure that it's not just workshops, but maybe using icebreakers to get the team to get to know each other, or scheduling a lunch or a dinner all together, even if it's virtually. So our values, this is the latest and greatest. These may change at the end of the quarter, but investing in the team around you, championing diversity and inclusion early and always, do the work to put the user first, lead with empathy, hold yourself and others accountable for growth, step back, step up for others, acknowledge and respect each other, be proactive about taking ownership, learn through experimentation, and prioritize clear and organized communication. These are our current values our internal team has put together, and I'm very proud of them at the moment, which we'll dive into one in particular so you can see how we can continue to set expectations of what these values mean. So these are, of course, measured on performance, where on a scale from 1 to 10, if you're ranking at a 1 to 4, you're really meeting below expectations and you need to show improvements within the next quarter. 5 to 7, you're at the standard expectations, maybe slight recommendations for the next quarter in order to get to the third. Of 8 to 10, above and beyond, just really, really a prime example of this value and how you've been working in the past quarter. So we've created this to also instill transparency of what someone may perceive as an 8 to 10 for invest in the team around you. Others may think a little bit differently. So we put examples in here so that it was really clear across the team, where you can see if you're a score from 1 to 4, maybe they often don't respond to others' questions and needs. But if they're an 8 to 10, they're consistently showing they are more concerned about the success of others than themselves, or it takes the extra time to clarify the why outside of just the how as a manager. So this has been really, really great to work through with the team so that everyone's throwing in examples of how they believe that this value lives throughout their day-to-day work. One of my favorite tools that is accompanied with our OKR framework is a tool called 15-5 that we use to track team health via one-on-one meetings, end of week 15-5 submissions, and of course the 360 peer reviews. So you can see a screenshot from 15-5 here, where every week we ask our team, how are you feeling? And once they actually hit the number, we can ask them why, and they can go into it. Hey, I'm feeling really good, but I maybe personally I'm not feeling as great as I would normally because of these reasons, or I'm feeling so great about work because we just finished that project and it got great feedback from the rest of the team and our customers. And then you can see you're tracking on your objectives, and then it'll go into a series of questions of what went well this week, what can I help you with, and potentially other questions that we put throughout the company of ways that we can better support our internal team. So every Friday, this is what gets me out of bed every Friday, is knowing that these are going to be submitted so we can check in with the whole team, and they really have a chance to sit down and tell us what they need rather than feeling pressured to do it in a one-on-one meeting. Not only that, but we did strike up a partnership with Bravely to actually give our employees the coaches that they need, knowing that not everyone at our company is going to be able to coach them, or they're going to be able to feel as safe and transparent with potentially their the execs at our company or their manager. So Bravely, it's a really great company. Check it out. You can see here they match you with a specific coach based on your needs, whether you do want to level up in how you're working with your peers or becoming a manager or learn a new skill set like business analysis. Okay, great. Let's pair them with someone who would be a good fit to help them be a career coach on where they need to go from here, or resolve difficult issues like, hey, I need to have a difficult conversation with my boss. Can you help me with that? Bravely has been really, really great. And we've just rolled it out this past quarter and highly recommend you do that because it's a very tumultuous time with the organization and your employees with living through a pandemic. So no matter how roles or priorities shift, a commitment to upholding values is key. And it's been one of my favorite things that we've implemented at the company. Moving on to internal policies and code of conduct. So here, from an operations perspective, we set expectations early about what we expect for people joining our team. So here's a screenshot of the very beginning of our company operations document, where we onboard every new hire through this and have them actually sign it at the end, where we go through various procedures, how we work, remote tools, our people operations committee, and ensuring that we're meeting them with all accessible standards. So I highly recommend that you have something down in writing for each one of your new employees so that they come in feeling supported. And onboarding people from a remote perspective shouldn't be that difficult. But as long as you have everything clearly written so that, hey, they don't need to absorb the information now, but they can take this document back with them, read it over on their second day in the morning, and feel a bit more grounded with what's expected of them, it really drives a lot of comfort and transparency throughout the organization. So again, this is from the very beginning. We need to have managers start talking about each individual's growth from their very first day. So here you can see the very beginning of our 30, 60, 90-day plan, where the goal is to align on responsibilities and set expectations for new hires first 3 months at Wethos. So you can see here the 30 days, they're really learning and absorbing information. 60 days, we should start to see them contributing, and 90 days, really innovating. So making sure that the expectations are clear between the manager and the employee of, this is what contributing means to me, and these are the goals that I want to see you hit in order to move to that next stage of innovating, which has been really well received from our company to alleviate anxieties of, okay, I see a thread. Should I jump in on this? What am I expected to do? Make that crystal clear from the very beginning. One other thing I did want to mention that we removed that is language that a lot of company owners or mission-driven organizations may not even realize might be in their legal documentation, but is the act of forced arbitration. So this is a sneaky tactic that removes someone's right to sue in open court on public record. I'm sure you've heard news articles about how some users of Uber weren't able to sue for sexual harassment and misconduct in the courts because of this clause. And it can really, really diminish also the rights of your employees if you have it. So ensuring that this is removed throughout will enable your employees to have the power to take up actions within court, which is crucial to their safety, particularly when it comes to realms of sexual assault or harassment. So why does this matter now? The practice is widespread and growing. 60 million are already impacted, and by 2024, it's estimated 80 million workers will have signed off on this new standard contract language. And in employment agreements, this clause disproportionately impacts women, people of color, LGBTQ plus folks, immigrants, and others who are more vulnerable to harassment and discrimination. So I highly recommend, if there's one thing that you take away from this recommendation or from this presentation, to go back, look at your agreements with your internal employees and with any contractors you work with, and see if this clause is in there, and make sure that it's removed so that you're not discriminating against people unknowingly. Lastly, outside of our internal team having a code of conduct, we've actually put a code of conduct around our whole Wethos community so that everyone is working together to empower one another rather than feeling like there are no rules of how people can interact with one another. So you can see here just a screenshot of expected behavior, being considerate, being respectful, and the consequences of behavior that we deem not acceptable. You can see here wethos.co/code of conduct. Feel free to take any language here and make it personalized for your own. Highly recommend that you have a code of conduct just so it's clear across the board how people should be interacting with one another and what is acceptable. So you have the power to set a tone for zero tolerance policies within your organization. And if you're a leader with this power, please make sure that it's done for good and it's done with inclusivity and belonging in mind. Culture initiatives. So now we're getting into some of the fun stuff. So apart from the work, we try to build ways for our team to be social and have fun, particularly in a remote environment. So actually yesterday we had a coffee break, 30 minutes that are gathering that are light and fun, can be interest specific. So we've done a doodle break where people would doodle one another and actually present their screen. Yesterday we did an icebreaker. So it's an app that you put in a few topics and it randomizes one-on-ones between you and another individual on the team, and it puts up a series of prompts or questions like, hey, what's outside your window? Show the person that you're talking to. Or what are your biggest learnings of moving remote in the past 3 months? Okay, like it's not a topic that you would typically talk about. We love coffee breaks, and we always make sure to send out a stipend whenever we do one so that people can actually go out and buy a coffee. We also do lunch and learn, so making sure that we are constantly living in an environment where we are empowering knowledge sharing. So 30 to 60-minute gatherings that really serve a company or business centric educational purpose. So our data analysts actually just took us through a metrics lunch and learn that everyone was thrilled about, because learning about metrics is new for a lot of the marketers on our team, and it's been really exciting. We have wellness sessions, so gatherings that promote a healthy lifestyle and positive mental well-being. So we've done yoga and we've done stretching, and it's been really fun from a remote environment led by someone on our team based on what they enjoy to do. And lastly, happy hours, company-wide quarterly gathering to have a drink of any kind, whether it is a glass of wine or some kombucha, to celebrate with the team. So one thing that we implemented a few years ago, particularly working in a high stress startup, is the thought of mental health days. You just need 24 hours notice for your team, but at some point everyone gets to their burning point or their burnt out point where you're not going to be doing your best work. You need to take a day to yourself to reset and get back in. So mental health days are mandatory every quarter. And if we notice an employee has not taken theirs and we're getting to the end of the quarter, we ping them, hey, please make sure to take a mental health break. You're doing great work and you deserve this for yourself. Another thing that we've invested in is an optional invest in self days, where a lot of employees are saying, hey, I love what I do here, but I would love to get involved with some other things outside of Wethos too. So we wanted to actually promote that, make that a perk at Wethos. We don't want just people who work 100 hours a week on Wethos. We want people who are happy in their lives and are investing in themselves. So we put together a little recommendation of what can you do in your invest in self days. Engage in activism, start a book club, be a volunteer, take a coding class, whatever investing in yourself means to you. Please take that on, just so that we are always making sure that people are spending time on themselves, not just on the company. Plus, we offer stipends and perks to our employees, even though we're remote. So right now, we do have an unlimited vacation policy. We have a learning stipend every single year, at-home work stipends that come every 6 months, anniversary gifts from personalized end-of-year gifts and birthday presents. Our remote office manager is wonderful. She sends out a type form at the beginning of every new employee's start date of, tell me about yourself. What do you like? What do you know? And one of our employees loves gnomes, and we've sent her quite a few gnome gifts, and it's very exciting to be able to send people something personalized rather than, oh, here's some swag or the thing that everyone else at the company is getting. And of course, as I mentioned before, coffee money on special days. So the trust we've built with our team allows us to give back by giving them more flexibility and, at the end of the day, more time to invest in themselves. So looking ahead, we have a lot that we're working on at the moment. Particularly, one thing that we've been working on for quite a few months is engaging with a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant, where we are making sure that our policies, our job descriptions, everything that we are doing is written with inclusive language, but also really doing a deep dive with our internal team of, is there a sense of inclusion and belonging here? And if not, why? It's been incredibly helpful. If you need a recommendation for a diversity, equity, and inclusion consultant, please come to my office hours. We know many, but the one that we're working with right now is really, really wonderful. We're also working on salary transparency and equity transparency. So we're going to make that public throughout the company by the end of this year. Consistent growth processes is something that has been top of mind for us, and something that you just continue to improve. You can't just really set growth and review processes and forget them. There's something that continue to evolve as you continue to grow your team or your culture continues to evolve. We're also becoming GDPR compliant with our privacy policy, which is very exciting on our end, to ensure that we're living up to the standards of ethical data and policy practices, and ensuring we're holding ourselves accountable in that way. And of course, just to end it, continuing to put our people first. It's crucial that you build a culture to remove toxicity by really putting your people first above your business, because at the end of the day, your people are what makes your business tick, and each one of them should be treated as if they're one of your founding members. Thanks so much. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, my office hours are at 9:30 a.m. on the 14th Eastern Time. So looking forward to meeting some of you there. Thanks.